Tonight, a cautious reset in relations. Canada and China slash tariffs in a landmark trade deal. What's in the agreement?
We're building a web of new connections with China.
Why industry reaction is so sharply split. And what Donald Trump is saying about the alliance.
This is it.
An exclusive look into Daniel Jolivet's new life on the outside after decades in prison.
That's my place, you know. Nobody can throw me out or nobody can lock me.
And the ongoing battle to clear his name. Plus, taking pride in inventory.
We're here just to support local and try to brand more into local products.
How the Buy Canadian movement is reshaping what's on East Coast shelves.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
Good evening. Canada has entered a new era of relations with China. The Prime Minister describing what he calls a preliminary but landmark agreement, removing trade barriers and reducing tariffs. It will allow tens of thousands of Chinese electric vehicles into this country in exchange for lower duties on canola and other agricultural products. Industry stakeholders expressing strong reactions today on both sides of this matter. We'll get to all that, but first we begin with CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver in Beijing.
The stalls at Beijing's busy food markets will soon be filled with more Canadian lobster, seafood and canola products after Canada and China signed what the Prime Minister is calling a landmark trade agreement.
We're building a web of new connections with China to create transformative opportunities for Canadian workers, build more stability, more certainty and prosperity on both sides of the Pacific.
As part of that deal, China will remove all existing tariffs on Canadian canola meal, lobsters, crab and peas until at least the end of the year, and permanently reduce its tariff on canola seed to 15%. The tariffs on canola oil and pork will remain.
If you're a canola farmer, you're probably cautiously optimistic that something's going to come from this because we don't know the full details. But if you're a Canadian auto worker, this is devastating news because they know that this is going to undercut North American produced vehicles.
In exchange, Canada will let 49,000 Chinese electric vehicles into Canada, essentially tariff-free, increasing that amount every year after. By 2030, half of those EVs should cost a maximum of $35,000.
We need to look at this in the context of building. I mean, we're building a new part of our car industry. Building cars of the future in partnership.
The new trade pact that encourages Chinese investment in Canada's auto sector was announced hours after Carney shook hands with the Chinese president, closing the deal on a 5-pillar strategic partnership meant to tear down trade barriers and forge new ties in areas from finance to energy and tourism.
A healthy and stable China-Canada relationship serves the common interests of our two countries. It is also good for the peace, stability, and prosperity of the world.
The Prime Minister says concerns about human rights and foreign interference were brought up during his meeting with the Chinese president. Carney leaves Beijing tomorrow, Heather, for Qatar, where he will meet with businesses to try to drum up investment in Canada.
Annie Bergeron-Oliver in Beijing for us. Annie, thanks. Prime Minister Mark Carney's trade deal with China goes beyond cars and canola. It will have an impact on other industries and Canadians. But as CTV's Rachel Aiello reports, the new agreement is being met with strong and split reactions from premiers and sectors struggling under tariffs.
It's just a terrible, terrible, miscalculated decision by the Prime Minister.
Ontario's Premier slamming the federal government for not consulting the auto industry before agreeing to allow more Chinese EVs into Canada.
We're letting China into a market that's going to have lower tariffs than our largest market, the U.S. They're going to undermine every auto manufacturer here.
The pact Carney and President Xi made, potentially pitting parts of the country against each other.
Our trading partners, our adversaries, they know that about us.
But the Premier of Canada's largest canola producing province doesn't see it that way.
The canola industry, the oilseed industry, the pulse industry is important to virtually each and every part of this country, up to and including Ontario.
Some sectors are elated about markets opening up again.
be able to get the Chinese giant to twitch at all is a tremendous challenge for any government.
Others are still waiting for relief.
While there was a deal announced for lobster and crab, there's many other species that weren't included that are subject to retaliatory tariffs. I'm thinking, cold water shrimp, sea cucumber, whelk.
We need to see the pork tariffs taken off as well.
While doing more business with economies like China may be divisive, experts today said it's key to Canada diversifying trade.
If you're going to do that on planet Earth, you're going to have to trade with China.
The new partnership also includes increasing cultural and tourism ties. Carney said Xi has agreed to allow visa-free access for Canadians traveling to China. Heather?
Thanks, Rachel. CTV's Rachel Aiello in Ottawa. Opposition leader Pierre Poilievre was quick to condemn the new trade deal, saying it will jeopardize Canadian security and jobs. In a post on social media, Poilievre writes, Prime Minister Carney must explain how he has gone from saying China was Canada's biggest security threat before the election to announcing a strategic partnership with Beijing after the election. Canada's auto sector reacting sharply as it seeks more clarity on the specifics of the deal. Ontario's premier calling it a self-inflicted wound. It could reshape Canadian car buying. CTV's Heather Wright on what this means for the market and consumers looking for a better price.
For an industry on the front lines of the trade war, there is concern about the impact this agreement with China might have on Canada's auto sector.
The worst thing is it opens the door and it's a slippery slope after this.
The new deal will allow nearly 50,000 Chinese-made electric vehicles into Canada at the tariff rate of 6%. It's an abrupt departure from the 100% tariffs placed on Chinese EVs in 2024 by the Trudeau government in alignment with the United States. At that time, Ottawa justified those tariffs on the grounds that Chinese manufacturers unfairly benefited from state subsidies, making it hard for Canadian manufacturers to compete.
I would remind Canadians, cheap has a price, and that price is good union jobs.
The majority of Canada's auto industry is in Ontario, which has experienced plant closures and job losses over the last year.
This just adds, frankly, more uncertainty to an already uncertain automotive market.
Canadian EV sales have dropped dramatically in recent years with expiring rebates, the trade war, and affordability factoring into the decline. This deal stipulates by 2030, 50% of Chinese EVs would have to cost less than $35,000, a measure that would help with affordability. And by year 3, the agreement calls for considerable new Chinese joint venture investment in Canada with trusted partners. But insiders say there are still more questions than answers.
We need more, a better understanding on how those quotas are managed, which brand are. So there's a lot of, the timeline is a big part of it as well.
There are also plenty of concerns around cybersecurity, things like software updates and data collection, how this will be managed, and who will have access to this information. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
For Canada's canola farmers, this announcement couldn't come soon enough. They've been hammered by Chinese tariffs on their exports. CTV's Alison Bamford spoke with farmers whose livelihoods could hinge on this deal.
In an industry where almost nothing is guaranteed, word that China will slash its punishing tariffs on Canadian canola and peas is offering Saskatchewan producers a bit of welcome predictability.
We needed a good news story today.
All week, Dean Roberts has waited to see how the Prime Minister's trip overseas would unfold.
I had an alarm set for 3 a.m. just to see what developments might come out of China today.
Announced this morning, Beijing is expected to drop canola seed tariffs to 15% by March 1st, while canola meal and peas will no longer be subject to tariffs. The levies introduced last March halted trade to one of Canada's biggest buyers. It's estimated the industry lost billions, but canola prices are rebounding slowly, and today's deal is expected to help.
There's significantly more upside potential in the canola commodity price than there is downside at this point in time.
Some producers have been at odds with what to grow this upcoming season. Nothing looks to be very profitable with current prices.
We have to plant something. We don't get paid to leave the land idle. So this provides some optimism.
Optimism that will carry them through to seeding in April.
There's still questions around how it's all going to play out, but at least at this point I have a little more confidence going into spring to put that crop in the ground.
The deal does not mention canola oil, which is subject to a 100% tariff, but farmers say there's less concern there as the vast majority of Canadian canola oil is sent to the United States. Allison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
As the announcement rolled out, attention turned to Washington, anticipating a less than favorable response from the U.S. president. Here's CTV's Joy Malbon with what Donald Trump had to say about the deal.
The U.S. president can say some surprising things. When asked about Prime Minister Carney's trade deal with China, his reaction, not what anyone expected.
That's okay. That's what he should be doing. I mean, it's a good thing for him to sign a trade deal. If you can get a deal with China, you should do that.
Talk about mixed messages. Trump's trade envoy telling a business channel.
Well, I think it's problematic for Canada. There's a reason why we don't sell a lot of Chinese cars in the United States. It's because we have tariffs to protect American auto workers.
And just this week in Detroit, Trump said he'd love for China to come in, but only if they build factories and their cars here in America. So what's driving the president these days? Greenland. It's almost become an obsession.
NATO has been dealing with us on Greenland. We need Greenland for national security very badly. If we don't have it, we have a big hole in national security.
Even after a delegation came to the White House trying to convince the administration Greenland is not for sale, the president now threatens to punish other countries who oppose his ambitions.
I may put a tariff on countries if they don't go along with Greenland, because we need Greenland for national security.
Denmark and its NATO neighbors ramped up its military presence, sending in fighter jets, ships, and soldiers, a show of support in Greenland since Trump hasn't ruled out using military force.
We're actually talking about a war between Denmark and the United States that's being discussed at the moment, which is insane.
The president is marking nearly 1 full year back in office, but polls show he's flunking out with voters who say he's focused on the wrong priorities. Heather?
CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbon. Some developing news to share tonight. Donald Trump has invited Mark Carney to join the Board of Peace for Gaza. A senior Canadian government official telling CTV News Carney plans to accept. Trump has also appointed U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and former British Prime Minister Tony Blair to the board, which will guide the next phase of reconstruction in Gaza. Turning to other news, the RCMP says it is now making a database of child sex offenders available to the public for the first time. The Mounties say only the offenders deemed as high risk are included in the database, which it says is meant to help the public get informed and make decisions when it comes to protecting children. The Federal Court of Appeal has ruled the Trudeau government's use of the Emergencies Act during the Freedom Convoy protests was unreasonable. The court dismissed the government's appeal today of a 2024 ruling. For about 3 weeks in 2022, a section of downtown Ottawa was blocked off by protesters, including many in large trucks around Parliament Hill. The protest challenged pandemic restrictions and vaccine mandates. The federal government responded by invoking the Emergencies Act, granting additional powers to clear blockades and freeze bank accounts. The Public Safety Minister's office says it's reviewing the ruling. Eastern Ontario is still digging out a day after getting slammed by a relentless snowstorm. Some parts of Toronto were blasted with up to 50 centimeters of snow. The persistent storm made for a challenging day for waste collection, transit users, and it was also tough on foot. Many roads were closed at various points, including some major highways like the Don Valley Parkway. And tense moments for a driver on a Toronto area highway last night. Dash cam footage caught the moment a snowplow sent a wall of snow plummeting off an overpass and right onto the vehicle below. The driver telling CTV News he was shaken by the incident but not injured. And in Ottawa, some volunteering their time to help neighbors clear out the mess. Those shovels and snow blowers will be put to work again soon with more snow on the way.
I'm Geneviève Beauchemin in Montreal. Coming up on CTV National News.
This is it. Come.
An exclusive look inside the life of a man released after 33 years behind bars. What Daniel Jolivet is rediscovering as he continues his fight to prove he was wrongfully convicted.
I'm starting a new life, kind of.
coming up on CTV National News.
Abused for years by a monster.
I thought, I need help.
Behind the worst mass killing in Canadian history.
I'm looking at him, but there was like nothing there.
A shocking story of survival.
Why isn't anybody coming?
In the shadow.
How much of that anger did you feel was directed at you?
All of it.
Of an unthinkable tragedy.
She went from being victim number one to public enemy number one.
A CTV News special Sunday night, right after the game on CTV and Crave.
After spending 33 years in prison, Daniel Jolivet is now settling into a new life. Out on bail after a report from the prosecutor's office found he could have been the victim of a miscarriage of justice. CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Boschman met him for an exclusive interview to see how he's adapting.
This is it. Come.
Daniel Jolivet is rediscovering freedom.
Oh my God, the first night I slept like a baby in there.
Savoring the comforts of home in his one-bedroom apartment.
That's my place, you know. Nobody can throw me out or nobody can lock me, you know. Nobody can say, stand up, it's the count, and nothing like this, you know.
Jolivet was convicted of a 1992 quadruple murder. He's been granted bail as he continues his fight to clear his name.
I just press the button to open it, to get the screen there, and that's it. I don't know how to work it.
Fast-forwarding 33 years is overwhelming. Jolivet's lawyer and some devoted supporters show him the ways of the world now.
We wanted to buy like a shirt, or it's like, oh my God, did you see the price? I'm like, Danielle, this is not expensive. You know, this is like a really regular price, you know, for that shirt.
They also provide much-needed financial support.
They really do care for me, I know that. And they know that, I know. I'm sorry. For the people that are going to see that, they're going to say, oh, what a baby. So yeah, I'm a kind of a baby, a reborn, you know.
Jolivet is applying for old age security, planning to get his driver's license.
So you've got a full agenda, I see.
Yeah.
And he says he's wasting no time on being angry for the years he lost.
What, I'm going to be sitting here and, you know, be like this, talking, thinking about those people that did wrong to me? No. I just want to see if it's dry.
Still, his lawyer says Jolivet's case is a stark reminder for those in the justice system.
You're working with the life of people, with the freedom of people. And if you do a mistake, well, you know, it's not just something that you just can correct the next day.
I'm starting a new life, kind of. But at 68 years and a half there, it's a bit late, but it's never late.
The next step is a decision from the Minister of Justice as to whether Jolivet will get a new trial or his file will be sent to the Court of Appeal. Geneviève Boschman, CTV News, Montreal.
Still ahead, a change in the flight plan. Why WestJet says it's no longer moving forward with extra cramped quarters on some of its flights. A change of course from WestJet. The Canadian airline is grounding changes to its cabin configuration after some negative feedback.
Dad, could you just straighten out your legs there?
Impossible.
That online video went viral earlier this month, showing the cramped leg space in the new densified cabins, where passengers said they felt uncomfortable and unsafe. WestJet says following a review of data and feedback from guests, the airline will return to its standard seating arrangement for economy cabins by removing one row of seats. A teenager has died after falling from a chairlift at a ski resort in BC. Emergency services were called to the Cypress Mountain Resort northwest of Vancouver around 7:30 last night, but the 18-year-old from Maple Ridge was pronounced dead at the scene. The RCMP says there were no obvious signs of technical or mechanical issues with the chairlift. They say all available evidence points to this being a tragic accident. An investigation is underway after an explosion damaged a natural gas pipeline that runs from Alberta into the United States.
There's no reason to expect that it was anything criminal or anything with bad intentions at this point.
The explosion happened this afternoon near Willow River, Minnesota, about 60 kilometers southwest of Duluth. Several households were evacuated. No injuries have been reported. The Enbridge Line 3 carries crude oil from Alberta across North Dakota and Minnesota to a terminal in Superior, Wisconsin. Still ahead, maritime made. How the Buy Canadian movement is getting a boost on the East Coast. The Blue Jays appear to have struck out in their effort to keep an all-star. Reports from Baseball Insiders say Bo Bichette has signed with the New York Mets.
Who hits it high in the air to deep center. It is gone!
That massive home run came in the heartbreaking Game 7 of the World Series against the LA Dodgers. The reported deal is worth $126 million over 3 years. Bichette is usually a shortstop, but is expected to play third base for the Mets. The two-time All-Star debuted with the Jays in 2019 and has led the American League in hits twice. The Buy Canadian movement is still a big driver for businesses on the East Coast as stores lean more on products made in the Maritimes. Retailers and makers met in Charlottetown to talk product, prices, and what sells. CTV's Maria Saru gives us a glimpse of that process.
Browsing table after table of Atlantic-designed products, retailers from across the region are here to sample, scout, and place orders.
We're here just to support local and try to brand more into local products.
That motivation to buy Canadian and buy Atlantic has been a big boost for businesses like Kim's Beachy Designs, which saw its best year yet in 2025.
For not just myself, but I noticed talking to other people that have these small businesses that they all noticed a big jump in their business last year.
The PEI Craft Council's trade show gives makers a chance to get their goods into shops across the East Coast. And for many, making connections here at home has never mattered more.
A lot of our makers used to ship to the United States, but because of the tariffs, they don't. So it's really important for them to make more alliances in the region.
There's lots of interest in Tyne Valley teas at Carol Rubinski's booth, but she says the challenge isn't just shipping product out, but getting supplies in.
Shipping costs had gone up, so when I get the teas in, I have to mark up the price a little bit more.
Beyond transport, costs are up across the board, says woodworker Adam Kenny here from New Brunswick.
But fortunately, it's a maritime trait to be resilient.
That resilience is on the top of shoppers' minds too.
The customers that show up at my store, they want PEI made.
The choices made here will shape what locals and tourists see on the shelves this spring and summer, stretching the Buy Canadian movement further into 2026. Maria Saru, CTV News, Charlottetown.
That is our newscast for this Friday. I'm Heather Butts. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Good night, and I'll see you again tomorrow.
Canada's #1 newscast for excellence in journalism.
We begin tonight with breaking news.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina, winner of the Canadian Screen Award for Best National Newscast. Weeknights at 11. Watch live on Crave.